Welcome to the deep dive. You've probably seen them, maybe even eaten piles of them at a certain Big Blue furniture store. We're talking, of course, about Köttbullar Swedish meatballs.
A true comfort food icon, yeah.
Exactly. And our mission today, well, it's to get past the cafeteria tray, really. We're going to dig into the true story behind this dish. It's a surprising journey across cultures.
And we'll share some secrets, too, about getting that perfect texture and flavor that makes them so good.
Right. And we're starting with, well, a bit of a historical bombshell, actually. Turns out this iconic Swedish dish, its roots aren't really in Scandinavia at all.
Not originally, no. The story actually goes back about 300 years and connects directly to the Ottoman Empire, modern-day Turkey.
It's incredible. So what you're saying is that plate of meatballs is basically history, a result of wars and kings.
Pretty much. It's a delicious example of how food travels, how cuisines evolve because of big global events, military defeats, even royal desperations. Definitely not static.
Okay, let's unpack that, because the main character here sounds interesting. We need to go back to the early 18th century, right? To King Charles XII of Sweden.
That's the one. Sometimes called Charles the Ironhead.
Ironhead, why? Stubborn.
Very. And maybe a bit reckless, which leads us straight to the turning point for him, and weirdly, for the meatball. It's the Battle of Poltava in 1709.
Ah, okay. A big one.
Huge. A crushing defeat for Sweden against Russia. Charles XII basically had to run for it. He had nowhere to go but south.
Flees south and ends up where?
He finds refuge in a town called Bender. Now, back then, Bender was part of the Ottoman Empire. It's in modern-day Moldova.
Right, and this wasn't just a quick stopover.
Oh, no, he was stuck there.
Yeah.
Essentially in exile. He spent, 5 years in Bender, from about 1709 to 1714.
Wow, 5 years. That's long enough to really soak up the local culture, isn't it?
Exactly, and especially the food. Apparently, he became completely fascinated, maybe even enamored with Turkish cuisine, which was incredibly sophisticated at the Ottoman court.
So he develops a taste for it.
A serious taste. So when he finally managed to get back to Sweden, he didn't just bring himself. He brought back, well, what you call the treasure trove recipes. Maybe even some ingredients, definitely ideas.
And the star of that collection
Was köfte, which is really just the Turkish word for, well, meatballs, often spiced in a particular way. And that köfte is the direct ancestor of today's Köttbullar. No question.
That's an amazing journey. Has Sweden, officially acknowledged this?
They have, yeah. Which is interesting in itself. Quite recently, actually, in 2018, the official Swedish government Twitter account, of all places, basically confirmed it. Said the recipe came home from Turkey with Charles XII.
Huh. So it's not just a fun fact, it's accepted history now.
It is. Of course, Swedish cooks didn't just copy it directly. They adapted it.
Oh, yeah.
Took that Turkish spark and made it their own, using local ingredients and tastes. Perfected it, you could say, into the Swedish version.
I love that. A national dish born from exile and, well, a king's foodie adventures. Okay, so if the starting point was Turkish köfte, how did it become Köttbullar? What are the key differences, the secrets?
Ah, right. Because they are quite different, especially when you get down to the texture and the specific flavor profile. That's where the Swedish adaptation really shines.
Let's talk texture first. That seems critical. Traditional Köttbullar often use beef and pork, yeah.
Usually a mix, yes. But the real game changer, the thing that makes them so distinctively soft and juicy, is adding breadcrumbs, or even better, stale bread soaked in milk or cream.
Okay, why does that work? What's the science there?
It's all about moisture retention. When meat cooks, the proteins tighten up, they squeeze out water, and that's how you get tough, dry meatballs.
Right, the dreaded hockey puck.
Exactly. The soaked breadcrumbs act like a sponge inside the meatball. The starch granules absorb the liquid and fat, creating tiny pockets that, well, they sort of interfere with the protein squeezing too tightly. It keeps everything tender and moist during cooking.
But doesn't adding bread make it mushy? How do you avoid that?
Good question. That leads to the next secret, the gentle touch. You absolutely cannot overmix the meat mixture.
Ah, okay, so no kneading it like bread dough.
Definitely not. If you work it too much, you develop the gluten in the bread, compress the meat proteins, and basically undo all the good work of the milk soak. You want to mix it just until combined, lightly, gently.
Got it. Handle with care. And then there's the size, isn't there? Swedish meatballs are typically quite small.
Tiny. Charmingly small is the phrase often used. Think marble-sized, maybe chickpea-sized.
Why so small? Is it just tradition?
It's partly tradition, but it's also functional. That small size means they cook incredibly quickly and evenly. You get a nice browning on the outside without overcooking the inside, which, again, protects that tender, juicy texture we want. It's very different from, say, a big Italian-American meatball.
Or, dare I say, the sometimes oversized furniture store versions.
Precisely. Those larger ones often end up a bit dense, a bit compressed. That's not the true Köttbullar spirit.
Okay, texture nailed, milk soak, gentle mix, tiny size. Now, flavor. This is where it really diverges from the Turkish kofta.
Absolutely. The spice profile is completely different. It's the fingerprint of the Swedish meatball.
So Turkish kofta might use things like cumin, paprika.
Exactly. Earthy, warm, Mediterranean spices, maybe some herbs, onion, garlic. But the Swedes, when they adapted the recipe, went in a different direction. They swapped those out, primarily for two key spices: all, spice, and nutmeg.
Huh. That's it. That's the taste. It's warm, a little bit sweet almost,
Yeah.
woody.
That's a good way to put it. It's a very distinct, warming, slightly autumnal flavor profile.
Why those spices, do you think? Was it just what was available?
Probably a combination of availability through trade routes and existing Northern European tastes. Allspice and nutmeg were common in Scandinavian baking and preserving those sort of warming, wintry spice profiles. They give the meatballs that unique, comforting quality. And importantly, that flavor profile works beautifully with the rich, creamy sauce they're usually served with. It cuts through the richness.
Okay, so we have these perfectly tender, gently spiced little meatballs. But you mentioned the sauce. The meal isn't really complete without the gravy and something else, right?
Definitely not. The accompaniments are, well, you called them the crown jewels earlier, and
Yeah.
that's spot on.
Mm.
Without the gravy and the jam, it's just spiced meat. With them, it's the whole Köttbullar experience.
Let's talk gravy. It's famously creamy, but where does that deep flavor come from?
It comes from the pan.
Mm.
This is key. Use the same pan you fried the meatballs in, all those little brown bits stuck to the bottom. That's called the fond.
The drippings, right?
Exactly. That's pure concentrated flavor from the Maillard reaction, the browning of the meat. You don't discard that. You build the sauce on it.
So you scrape that up, maybe add a little flour to make a roux.
Yep. Toast the flour in the pan fats, then whisk in broth, usually beef broth, and then, crucially, heavy cream. Lots of it. That gives it the richness and the smooth, luscious texture that coats the meatballs perfectly.
Making me hungry. Is
Yeah.
there a modern twist on the gravy?
There is, actually. It's not strictly traditional, but a lot of modern recipes, even in Sweden, call for a little dash of soy sauce.
Soy sauce, really?
Yeah, just a splash. It adds this incredible depth, a boost of umami, that savory fifth taste. And it helps deepen the brown color of the gravy, too. It's a smart little trick.
I like that. A little East meets West fusion happening even in the gravy.
Okay, so we have the rich meatballs, the creamy, savory gravy. It feels like it needs something to cut through all that richness.
And it does. That's where the lingonberry jam comes in. It's absolutely essential.
Lingonberries.
Mm-hmm.
They're like cranberries, but different.
Similar family, yeah, but lingonberries are generally smaller, intensely tart, maybe a little bit bitter. The jam is sweet, of course, but it retains that sharp, tangy edge.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? That sweet-tart contrast.
It's vital. That bright acidity cuts right through the fat and creaminess of the meatballs and sauce. It cleanses the palate, provides balance. Without it, the dish can feel a bit heavy, a bit one-note.
It makes the whole thing sing. It really does. And interestingly, we can even loop this back to the history.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, the practice of pairing savory meats with sweet or tart fruit preserves. That was quite common in Ottoman cuisine, the kind Charles XII would have experienced.
No way. So even the jam pairing might have Turkish fruits.
It's possible. He might have observed similar pairings during his time in Bender, brought the idea back, and lingonberries were the natural local fruit to use in Sweden. What started as maybe an observation became a defining national characteristic of the dish.
This whole story is just layers upon layers. We started with a military defeat, followed an exiled king to the Ottoman Empire, saw kofta transform into Köttbullar.
Learn the secrets. The milk soak for tenderness, the light touch, the tiny size.
The crucial allspice and nutmeg that make it taste Swedish, scraping up the pan drippings for the perfect gravy.
And finishing with that essential sweet-tart lingonberry jam, which itself might be part of the legacy.
It turns a simple meatball into this incredible edible history lesson.
That's really the takeaway, isn't it? When you eat Köttbullar, you're not just eating beef and pork and cream. You're tasting the result of centuries of history, geopolitics, cultural exchange, culinary adaptation, all in one little meatball.
It really makes you think differently about comfort food.
Should, right. The next time you tuck into a plate, remember King Charles XII and his Ottoman adventure? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday foods are hiding these dramatic, globe-trotting backstories? Something to chew on, perhaps, next time you're looking in your pantry.